Hi, my name is Janne Ohtonen from AddValueToMe. We help entrepreneurs and business process leaders to learn new techniques and get new ideas in how to succeed in business. And that is done through learning new skills and networking with like-minded people to get peer support. I'm going to teach you in this training video that what is process leader framework and how it can help your business. So far, the results we have seen have been, for example, increase in revenues, increase in profits, decrease in costs. Also, we have seen employee commitment increasing and especially better customer service. I'm sure that you have already noticed that the competition today is fierce. It's unbelievable that how new companies are born all the time and how old companies are dying all the time, and there's a lot of turbulence in business world today. And I believe that a lot of that comes through internet, because you're not competing anymore with the local corner shops behind the corner and all that, but you're also competing with all the shops and all the companies online. And as you know, today the competitive advantage, it doesn't come anymore from logistics, because you can get anything shipped from the other side of the world to the other side very easily, so that's not going to do you much, is it? So also manufacturing, if you think about manufacturing, you can just send your blueprints to China and get your products back in a few weeks, and it is very easy today. And there has been a lot of discussion about information age, and I think the reason why it hasn't been that hot discussion anymore in last recent years is that we already have all the information we can basically need. I mean, there's so much data in the world, so as long as you get your hands on the right data and then you apply it in the right way, you have all the information you need. So basically, you cannot get advantage from logistics, you cannot get it from manufacturing, and you cannot get it from information. So what do we have left? Where is the competitive advantage today? Have you thought about it? Where do you think that it is today? I believe that it is today in the customers, because we have all the means we need to fulfill the customer needs and customer expectations. So now the question is, how do we put all these things together and make something useful out of it that people want to buy and people want to use and people want to tell about that stuff to their friends and their colleagues? And that is where the competitive advantage is today. Before we get down into process leadership framework, let me ask you a few questions. How is the situation in your company today? Are people just coming to work? They don't care about quality or the results that much? Or are they actually caring for the customers? Do you have standards and do you have procedures in place that you can actually know the real situation today and then change the operations of the company based on what is the situation today and where do you need to be tomorrow? Do you have some kind of a roadmap built for the company that will make sure that you have the competitive advantage in the future also? I started thinking about that over 10 years ago. My career started in IT side. I was as an enterprise architect and designing a lot of big software. And while we were designing those software, we were just, we really thought that we're going to do a good job here. But then when you install the software, then the customer starts to use it and you can see immediately that, all right, it's lacking features, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, it's not helping them as much as they needed to help them. So that led me to ask that, why is that? Where is that misalignment between the IT and the work coming from? And to understand the work, I went down into business process management and started looking into process optimization, process modeling, and all that stuff. And it is really fascinating world. BPM is amazing because it can help you to understand what is done, where and how and who is doing it, where are the responsibilities, where are the costs, and where is the opportunity. So you can find all that with business process management. So when you put IT and business process management together, you're going to have a very powerful combination. And that's what I did for several years. But then I started seeing that still we are not quite where we should be. You have really good IT systems in place, and you have very efficient and effective processes in place. So now, why the business still is not blooming as much as it could. So I started thinking that it must be the business strategy that is driving those processes, and there must be something wrong with the business strategy. So I started studying in business school, how do you do business strategies and what are the best practices and all that, and there is a lot of stuff in there. But I also noticed that some of that stuff is quite old-fashioned. The people and the world has changed in the last 50 years. It's not the same game today that it was 1950s. And a lot of that business strategy stuff comes from 50s and 60s and even 70s. But it's a long time ago and the world is a different place. So that led me to think that, all right, so what is the current strategy? What is driving business today? And as we discussed earlier, it's clearly the customer. So then I started looking into customer strategies. How do you build customer strategies, and how do you align customer strategy to business strategy? And that was quite interesting because when you start doing that, originally initially it looks like the customer strategies that they teach you in the school and in the best practice books, they make a lot of sense, and they do, but they still don't reach the core of the customers, because when you segment customers and people in the traditional way, you don't really get down into hearts of the people. So I started looking into how do you get into hearts of the people, and I found customer journey mapping and all that stuff, and moments of truth and customer interactions, which is all very interesting and useful for building the customer strategy. So now I had tools to put the IT processes and also customer strategy in place and business strategy. And I started going into companies and helping them to succeed. And I did quite good results in there, but then still it was clearly missing something. So I was wondering what's going on here. Why, when you have all these strategies in place, you have processes in place, IT in place, why some companies still just cannot make it? They're not making really good business, even though if you look at it from outside, it looks like they're doing well, but they're not. So I started asking around, what's stopping you making even better results? What do you need today to double your business tomorrow? And I found out that actually leadership is very, very big thing. Most of the companies, especially the bigger ones, are run by command and control management. So there's no real empowerment and no real leadership in place. Rather, it's just mediocre management. And that led me to think that, okay, so if leadership is also very important here, so how can we put that on top of everything and make that as a wrapper around everything that in the organization is done, and so we can make sure that the company will succeed. It took me years to put all this together, and that's how we came up with the process leader framework. Some good examples how this whole business situation or business environment has changed is the S&P 500 list from US. 60 years ago, the average lifespan of a company used to be around 60 years or so. Can you guess how much it is today? How long those companies that are today on S&P 500 list are going to stay there? It's actually less than 20 years. So companies are really dropping fast today, and I think it's the problem of misalignment between all these different aspects that I mentioned earlier. So let's go into process leader framework and discuss how that could help solve this situation. As I mentioned, leadership is one of the very key capabilities you need to have in place. I did my PhD thesis on business process management, and during that research I found out that leadership is the biggest factor that is gonna determine whether the process initiative is going to work or it's not gonna work. 70% of the traditional business process for engineering projects fail for the reason that the leadership is not in place and there's some capabilities missing and the company is not really doing the projects well. So there is a very big chance that you fail if you do it in the wrong way. So you need to have first the top management and senior management support in place, and they need to understand and drive that business in the certain direction that is going to include processes and customer strategies, business strategy and IT in the right way and in the right balance. If any one of those is out of balance, that's going to cause you a lot of problems. So the next thing you need to have in place is the customer strategy. And like I said earlier, those traditional ways to form the customer strategy is not really that useful. It takes a lot of time, and I mean, it may contain useful information like segmentation based on age, gender, location, and all these different aspects. In some businesses, you really need to know them. I'm not saying that don't do that stuff, but I'm saying that it's not enough, because now, today, there's so many companies and so many businesses serving the customers. So you need to understand who is the customer exactly, what makes them tick, how do they feel things, what feelings do they have, what makes them move, what do they care about basically. I mean, you yourself want to be cared by the business that serves you, same way I want my service providers to care about me. So in the same way, those customers we serve, we need to care about them. And we cannot care about them if we know some trivial statistical information about them. We need to get into the hearts and heads of those customers so that we can serve them right. And that's why you need a little bit new way, more agile, more faster ways to understand the customers and get into the core of them, into the mindset of them, and use that to design your business so that you will serve them in the right way. And that is actually the alignment between the customer strategy and the business strategy. Because the business strategy is then what you choose to do for the customers that you have identified and you understand. So in your business strategy, you say that for these specific customers, I'm going to serve them in this specific way. This is what they want, this is what they need, this is what they expect, and this is what I'm going to do about it. And that's going to be the basis of your business strategy. When you have the business strategy in place, then you need to look into processes. And I like processes because processes are the way you deliver the customer experience. It is the way how you actually implement the business strategy and the customer strategy. So processes are really important. And if you think about processes from the old mindset, it's going to be something boring, like engineer mind thing that we need to have these maps where one box leads to another box, and it's very boring, and diagrams and all that stuff. I don't think it should be that way. I think it should be so that processes are the lifeline, the blood of the company, because that's how you say how it's going to work. So I think it should be so exciting that employees and the leaders, they actually want to work with processes. And if you think that I don't have processes in my company, I think you're wrong, because the thing is that every company has processes. How can I say that? Well, processes are all the work that is done in the organization. So either you have structured processes, they're documented, understood, mapped, and optimized, or you have unstructured processes, which means that they are just, people are doing it and there's a lot of variation and we are not quite sure what happens when. We know it basically, but we're not quite sure about the details. So then you have unstructured processes. But still, from point A, where customer needs something, to point B, where that need is fulfilled, you do something in between, and that what you do in between is the process or processes. So that's how you align the processes to customer and business strategy. Now we have the last thing, or the final thing, the famous information technology. Why is it that in so many companies, IT or systems are the ones running the company and the customer relationship, when it should be that those drive the IT? It should be so that leadership drives everything, customer strategy drives business strategy drives processes, and then processes and strategies, they drive the IT systems. And the reason is that IT is really good tool. It's very important today that you use IT and you put the best technology in the best place. But that's it. You need to put it in the right place for the right purpose. Not so that you go and buy some big ERP system or CRM system or any three-letter abbreviation system and put it into place, and then you say, all right people, now we need to change how we work because this is how the system works. Okay customers, this is how we do business with you because that's what our systems say. That's not the right way to do it. You need to first figure out how do you serve the customers, what do you need to do that, and then what systems do you need to have in place. That puts the systems into quite interesting position, doesn't it? Because those systems, they need to be adaptive. If you buy one system today and it's carved in stone for next 10 years and you cannot change them for the 10 years because it's too expensive, it's too difficult, all that stuff. So how can you serve your customers? Because the customers, they change all the time. Your competitive environment changes all the time. Your competitors, they come and go. There's all the time all kinds of changes in the world. And at the same time, your IT systems are like just in cement. You cannot move them anywhere. So for that reason, now when you start designing and acquiring new software, you need to make sure they are adaptive and they change to your business and customer needs. So those are the basic building blocks of process leader framework. Let's talk about some common mistakes and tips that happen quite often when all these things are done. One is that leadership part, that don't make the mistake of mixing management with leadership. Management and leadership, they're not the same thing really. Management is that you or some manager tells people what to do. It's command and control. It takes the thinking out of people, and it's just, you know, it's places like you do this, you do that, and common structures, rules, all that stuff. When leadership is actually something else. Leadership is something where you empower people. You give them shared goal that we need to get to, and you use those people based on their own capabilities and their own resources. What can they do the best? And they input their own resources willingly and happily, so that we go into the same shared goal that is set by the leadership. So it's rather leading than managing people. Managing people is old-fashioned, when leading is to today's world, and it's going to get you better results, right? Another thing is the customer centricity. There's a lot of companies that write on their website, we are customer centric, customer is very important for us. And then, you know, I'm sure that when you call some companies and then you wait on the line, and then you have been waiting on the line for 10 to 15 minutes, and there's some recorded voice telling you that your customership is very important for us, please hold on the line, we'll talk to you very soon. Well, but yeah, I mean, if you really cared about me, you wouldn't put me in the queue for 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes. I've been on the queue even 60 minutes listening to that same phrase to repeat. So that's not caring about customers. Real customer centricity means that you understand the customers. You have a modern customer strategy that contains the emotions and customer journeys and customer interactions. Then you have a modern business strategy which actually says on purpose that we choose those parts to serve. We leave those parts from the customer journey unserved for now. Maybe we do it later, or it's not our business. We just don't do that, but you have done it on purpose. And then you treat your customers accordingly. You treat your customers based on those two strategies. So you align the processes and IT systems and leadership so that they will realize those strategies in a meaningful way. Then from the leadership perspective, one very common mistake is also that people are not learning from each other. There's so much information out there. There's so many good training programs, and there are really good case studies and many things that you can just take and see what the others have done and then apply it to your organization. Learning is not only that you read or watch something. It's not that you know that something exists. It's also that you apply it into your own context, into your own world, and put it in use. Because that's where the real learning then happens. First the theoretical and then the practical, or you just skip the theoretical and go straight to practical. But anyway, you need to learn what others have done. Then I would like to address also business process optimization and modeling. I've seen quite many companies that go crazy with it. You know, you have like there's one company who started doing business process modeling 4 years ago. They have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands to draw these process maps that are just huge. They're like, I don't know, if they were printed out on the wall, it would be like, who knows how big wall, but it's gonna be a big map. And then I asked, okay, so you've been doing this for 4 years. How about the first maps you did 4 years ago? Are they still up to date? Well, no, not really. So how many of these maps do you think that are still up to date? Well, maybe 10 to 15%. So when are you going to finish the project and move on to the next stages in your BPM? Well, we have to finish mapping all the processes first. Does it make any sense? At least for me, it doesn't make any sense. So don't get crazy with modeling and optimizing and all that stuff. I see so many companies using Lean Six Sigma. They have gathered data, they have analyzed data, they have done the root cause analysis, and hey, 18 months has passed and still no changes in business. Because it takes so long time to gather all the information, all the understanding, and then make all the plans. How do you change the company? But that's not what it needs to be today. Today, you can get companies changed in few months with significant results. Just as an example, last year I did one case with telco company, and they had this very long process. They already had mapped it out, but they hadn't done the alignment to customer strategy. So what we did is we figured out the customer strategy, and then we align the processes to that. And it took us 2 days to look into it, 2 days workshop. And as a result of that, we could identify several parts where those two things were not aligning to each other. And as a result of that, they changed a few points in a few parts in the business. And 2 months later, they saved over $1 million just because changing those few things. There were very big things that were done for nothing. Customer didn't care for it, but internally people were thinking that that's somehow important to do it because nobody ever asked the question why. So even though they had Lean Six Sigma in place, that process did not have any variation. Well, of course some variation, but the variation was small, it was very efficient, and voice of customer was simply not able to address that you have parts in your process that are not really necessary. And the reason was that the questions were wrong. The customer strategy was old-fashioned, and the voice of customer was asking customers, what do you want, what are what do you want, what do you think, and all that stuff, when they should have actually tapped into the real customer needs. What do the customers actually try to achieve? What do they need from us? What do they expect from us? And then align your processes to that. Another case example is a retail company. They were doing about 200,000 loss every month. So what we did is we took the customer strategy and aligned it to business strategy and checked the systems behind and did some optimization there. And as a result of that, 4 months later, they made 400,000 profit. So there's 600,000 more profit in just few months. And that was possible by aligning these different things. So there's another good example from Bain & Co. who has been doing some research on this, and they went out and asked from the business leaders that, do you think you're customer centric? And the business leaders said, yeah. 80% of us said that, yep, we are. And then what they did actually was very clever. They went to their customers and asked from the customers that, do you think they actually are? And what do you think? How many of their customers did agree to that? It's only 8%. So I think that's one serious delivery gap that was there, because people think that, yeah, we are doing it great, we are customer centric. At the same time, customers are saying, not really, you're not that customer centric. So you need to understand, where are you today, where your customers think you are today, what is the delivery gap, how do you make that smaller, and how do you make your leadership and your strategies more realistic so that you can respond to these different gaps and different needs. Then when you start doing that, quite common misconception is that it's very expensive. Yeah, it can be. I mean, it really can be. I've seen BPM projects worth of tens and tens of millions, and when you do customer journey mapping, it's easily hundreds of thousands of dollars as a cost for you. But does it really need to be? Like I described that Lean Six Sigma example before, does it have to be so that it takes you 18 months? It takes you tens and tens of people, systems, all kinds of analysts and all that stuff to understand what is going on? Or is it possible to do it a little bit more agile and faster way? Well, for a fact, I know that it is. You need to understand the right amount. You need to have the right amount of data in use so that you can make the right decisions and move in there. But you don't need to know everything. Everything doesn't have to be perfect and just, you know, to the last detail, but you can just take the information you need, do something with it. Just start acting, take some action. And when you take the action, then you can correct your route as you go along. So you just update your roadmap and keep on rolling and keep on making improvements and changes, and that way you can see that you really make 600 more profit in a few months, because you can see that you're going in the right way and you are taking the steps immediately, but one by one. Let's talk about what you could do. Before we end this video, I hope that you will find some paper and pen and write down the different aspects of process leader framework. That being leadership, customer strategy, business strategy, and processes, and then IT systems. So which one of those areas you think that currently would need the most attention in your company? And once you identify the area that you think that you need the most help with, then ask the questions that what are the main challenges in this area? What are the problems in here that you think there are? And then you just go with your team and discuss with your boss and discuss with other people in your company and start finding out that what's going on in there. And once you find something that you think there's something that we need to do on this, then just make some kind of plan that how do you get it moving? What do you need to move forward? Who needs to get on board? What kind of help do you need? And then just start finding the resources and different things and putting them together. And you may find that some of the challenges you are facing currently may be actually quite easy to solve once you find the right people and right tools and methods. So if you want, there is a comment box under this video, so just go there and share your insights. What are your findings? What do you think are the biggest problems today in general or in your company or to your opinion? And let's have a discussion. Thank you for watching this video, and let's continue the discussion in the comment boxes below. See you in the next one. Bye.